If you're interested in seeing how I create a digital kit starting from the idea in my head all the way to printing and adding it to my bullet junk journal, just keep on watching. Hello, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So the idea for this particular kit I'm working on is to have an Egyptian theme because my heart is connected to Egypt because my hubby is Egyptian. I've been there many, many times and I love the country so much. So I have a bunch of pieces here that I would like to include in my kit. And I'm super lucky because I'm working together with a super talented illustrator. Her name is Ray. She also made illustrations for me for two of my other kits. One was the On My Desk and the other one was the Elegant Art Deco Dreams kit. So I'm very fortunate to have her because that way I have beautiful images that nobody else has. So I sent photos of these to Ray, who then made some of the drawings. So for example, I have this beautiful piece here. I bought him in Luxor and I love him so much. I'm not sure who he represents or if he represents like a pharaoh or someone, but I just love him. This here, I'm sure you've seen images like this before. So this is Hatshepsut, who is one of the most famous queens who ruled Egypt. And during her reign, Egypt lived in peace and prosperity. There, leave it to a woman. And I also saw Hatshepsut's temple in Luxor, which was actually my most favorite temple of all. Then I sent her a photo of a news clipping. This one actually came from my friend Eman, who sent me a bunch of beautiful things as well as this beautiful journal from Egypt. So she's in Cairo. Hi Eman, if you're watching. And this of course is Tutankhamun, who is the youngest pharaoh in the history of Egypt. He actually assumed the throne when he was 9 or 10 years old, I believe, but he died before he was 20, which is very sad. Then Eman also sent me this beautiful, what do you call this? I mean, it's wheat, I believe, but I don't know. Is it a husk? Well, you see what it is. So you will just keep this in mind. You will see it with the drawings that I'm going to show you from Ray. Then I included a photo of this cute handmade pen from Eman. I think it's just so adorable. So you will see this later on. And in the cute journal that Iman had sent, I also took photos of a couple of bits here. So these are obviously words written in Arabic. This one here means love or the love. This one here means in the land of thorns. And this one here is actually just an author's name. And then Iman also sent me some parts of book pages. So I just tore out a few pieces. So you will see these in the background on some of my pages. Then I also took photos of these two receipts. I actually don't remember if these were two that I actually got. I think they are actually from my trips to Egypt and not from Evan. I'm not 100% sure. And then this one here, this is beautiful. This is a heavy stone that I also bought in Luxor. And this is Isis, who is the Egyptian mother goddess. Beautiful with her wings spread like this. This is also a very well-known subject that you will see in many, many illustrations. So I'll show you what the photographs look like once I have edited them in my software. So I'm swinging you over to my computer. So there you see all the images that I have photographed. And you can also see this pen here, which is this beautiful pen here that I bought on my last trip when I was in Hurghada in October. Why don't we look over Ray's shoulder while she is making some of these illustrations? So once Ray is done with drawing all the illustrations and coloring them, she then sends me the files and I download them and I print them all on one sheet so that I know what is where. So here we see all the finished drawings. So this here I think is a woman. I don't think she's a pharaoh. She's just an Egyptian woman, obviously a very high class. Then this, again, as I showed you before, is Tutankhamun. This here is Bastet, the Egyptian cat goddess. So she's the goddess of protection and pleasure and the bringer of good health. She had the head of a cat and the slender body of a woman, but she's also often drawn like this as a cat as a whole. And Bastet was actually the daughter of Ra. This here is Queen Nefertiti. She reigned in the wealthiest period of ancient Egypt, and her bust today is in the Egyptian Museum in Berlin, which kind of makes me angry because I think she needs to be in Egypt, but that's a whole nother subject. Then here we have this guy that I showed you before. Then here we have this wheat thing. Here, of course, we have the pyramids of Giza, which are right next to Cairo, which I have also had the pleasure of seeing for myself, which are just absolutely amazing. This here, again, is Isis, the mother goddess, who you've seen in this beautiful stone plate that I have. This is the Sphinx at Giza, where the pyramids are as well, of course, and she is the most famous sculptor in the world. And as we know, she has this lion's body and a human head, and she represents a powerful sun god and is actually the incarnation of royal power and the protector of the temple gods. So not temple gods, temple doors. These two here are two different versions of the Eye of Horus, which is a symbol in the ancient Egypt religion that represents well-being, healing, and protection. And it was believed to have protective magical powers and appeared very frequently in ancient Egyptian art, but also today you can see it everywhere in Egypt. For example, my hubby bought me this beautiful necklace here with one of these eyes. Of course, it's not the same, but it is the symbol for the Eye of Horus. So it is meant to protect me when I wear it, which I love. And then we have a beautiful version of the Egyptian scarab beetle, and he is the symbol of renewal and birth. So I wanted to show you what it looks like when I'm designing my background pages. I use the program Affinity Photo for this, which I think is quite similar to Photoshop. So obviously I've already chosen all the elements. So it's a mixture of Ray's elements and elements that I have photographed and elements that I have from other websites. And I just try to make a background that looks pleasing to me. I never thought these colors would work together, these pinks and the blues, but I think actually it's gorgeous. And I just keep arranging the elements until I am happy. And of course, this takes a lot longer than you see here. This is sped up, I believe, 20 times. Plus, of course, all the time it takes to choose which elements you're actually going to use. So it's not a fast process, but it's a very enjoyable process. You also, of course, decide what goes on top of what. And here I wanted to add some more of the Egyptian elements. So this is the photograph of my receipts that I had. And then I'm going to select all the layers and add some shading so that it looks more dimensional, because now it's very flat. So here you see the shading helps, I think. And then I wanted to add these hieroglyphs in the background as well, but only very faintly. And I like the way that looks. And finally, I wanted to add some shading on the border. And to make it all look cohesive, I chose 2 or 3 different colors from the images for the borders. So I have designed 8 different backgrounds. I still need 2 more plain ones because I always like to include 2 more plain backgrounds, which are good to use then on the back sides of this if you wanted to use them in a journal. I printed them out half the original size. Actually, that was coincidence because I ordered the wrong paper. I meant to order A4 and I received A5. So that was all I had. So I printed on these, which is actually great for printing drafts because why would I need to waste more ink and paper if they're just drafts? But what I see on these drafts and what I don't like is when you print them, and I think a lot of us print them with the white border. I do tell my computer to print it without the border, but I think it depends on which program I print it from. A lot of times it ignores that and it just prints it with the white border anyway. I always thought that if it prints a white border, it would shrink the image and then put a white border around it. But I just realized for the first time this is not true. It is printing the image the exact same size and it is just deleting a part of the image, which means it's taking away so much of the image. Maybe, I think here you can see it the best. Like it has cut off so much of this image and it really is frustrating because this is not how I want my digitals to look. Here you can also see it. Look how much of her is cut off. Or where else can you see it really well? Here. All of these flowers are completely cut off. I'm thinking in the backgrounds where it is cut off. Also, this is cut off way too much. Bastet would not be happy, I'm telling you. So I think what I'm going to have to do is edit these backgrounds one more time and just move everything inward more or make them a little more bigger. And also all of my edging that I've made with the brushes, they're all gone because they didn't go in far enough. Now, of course, the issue is how do you make it go in far enough, but not too far that when you print it without borders that it looks weird. So this is something I need to now try to get a grip on, and then I'll print some more drafts to see if that looks better. It's the next day and I have updated all of my 8 backgrounds. So I have full size prints now in A4. So this is the first version and then this is the corrected version. So you see here the difference in how much you can see of the flower, for example. And I also added more border so you can see more of this shading around the edge than on this original one. So I did that for all of them. Here another comparison. This one is the corrected one and this one here is the original one. So again, you see more of the flowers. Here as well, this is the corrected one. This is the original one. It's not much, but yeah, I think it makes a difference. Okay, so I did that for all of those. And then I also added the 2 more plain pages that I always have. So that's one of them. And that's 2 of them. So what I like about these is not only can you use them as backsides for the more busy pages for a journal, but also you can fit these in any journal because they're not specifically Egyptian. So I think that's great. With all of my kits, I think pretty much all of them, you get these 2 extra pages, which you can then add to any journal. So this is always the first step in my process. I need to create the backgrounds first for me to get a feeling of the kit. And my next step then will be to make the notes pages for the bullet junk journal. I always have on the left side my calendar, which I also still need to create for January. And then on the right side, I always have my notes and my gratitude and the labels. And then of course, I also have some clip art to add as well. So the next thing I want to create is the notes and the labels. So that's one page. So I need to think about what colors I want to add to that. So when we switch back to my screen view, this is the Stay for the Winter notes. So I need to change that to work for my Egyptian kit. So the first thing I do is I decide on the color that I will use on these labels. So I'm going to go back to one of my backgrounds. I'm going to choose one of the colors from the backgrounds. And I'm kind of liking these like reddish, pinkish tones, the dark ones. So I think that's the one I want to choose. So I'm just going to choose that. That is quite dark. Maybe I don't want that one. Maybe I want, oh, that's quite light. There, I think that's a good middle ground. So I see that here. So I'm going to take this and then I will just change these. Obviously, I also need to change the text. So I can just change these. I will just go ahead and do that for all of the labels, and then I will change the text. So I changed all the colors here. I've changed the wording to January, and I've changed the name here. So the name of the kit is My Heart is in Egypt. I find that very fitting. And now I need to change these blobs to be notes. So given that these notes are going to be on this kind of goldy beigey background, I want them to stand out a little bit more. So I think I'm going to stick to the colors that I have here in these flowers with the pinks. But of course, I don't want to make them too dark because when we write on them, we still want to be able to see our writing. So I will attempt that. Now, I'm not the expert in working with this program, but I'm gonna do what I know how to do. So I'm going to create a rectangle. So that's basically going to be my note, and I can of course adjust the size later then. Then I'm going to give it just a tint of a color so that I can actually see it like that. I can now select like from what document I want to fill this shape with. So here's my backgrounds. And now it's good to know which background is which. So thankfully I have labeled my printout so I know what is where. So I'm gonna go on number 1, then I go open. And then you see here, I can drag this around to see what I want in here. And I can also make it bigger or smaller and just kind of try to find a nice image to fill this with. Maybe this would be nice. And this is of course way too dark, so I want to change the opacity. Now I'm realizing maybe it's better without the butterfly because the butterfly is so dark, which means I need to save this image as a JPEG without the butterfly. We'll copy them in here. And these, I haven't deleted these yet because they kind of give me an idea of the size, and I think that size is good. So now I can just erase all of these and add these. So I need to make 9 different ones of these, and then I have my notes ready to go. So here you see all the 9 notes. The page is ready to go, so I can save that. I always save it in JPEG, and then I have to add the watermarks and everything. And then I go to the calendar page and I update that for the current month. So I'm changing that to January 2022. And of course, then I have to also change all of the dates in the actual boxes. That's always fun. I actually had to add another row because the way January is, I needed 6 rows instead of just 5. So once I have that done, I can then just copy that into my background page and change the opacity so that you see through that. And then I also, of course, need to change the habit tracker colors and the 10K tracker colors and change all of the weeklies and again add them to my backgrounds. Okay, so I have finished making all of the calendar pages with the backgrounds. So here is week 1. So I made test prints, of course, of all of them to see if the opacity would work, because sometimes I need to make it more opaque and sometimes less. So it always looks different on a printout, of course, than on the computer. So then this is week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5 going all the way up until February 6th. Then we have the trackers, we have the habit tracker, and we have the 10K step tracker. I don't think I'll be adding this one to my planner at the moment because it's just gonna make me sad because I cannot walk because I still am dealing with my ankle injury. And then of course we have our monthly overview. And I have also already made the clip art. So there's 2 pages. This is what they look like. Added some hieroglyphs, some butterflies. I added the 2 Egyptian receipts, which I think is fun as well. We have some of these images facing in 2 different directions. One's with kind of like a background and one's without. You can choose what you prefer. We have her in 2 different sizes. One's with this beautiful floral background. Here again, we have the Sphinx facing both ways, one's with the floral backgrounds here as well. And this, of course, is the pen that I showed you earlier. So next, I need to make the freebies. And the way I do that is I'm going to use these basically, but I'm not necessarily going to use them the way they are now. I think this one actually works quite well, but of course you're going to have the white background, right? So I want whatever image is underneath the calendar page to work on its own without having the rest of the background there. So for example, maybe with this one, I would move it over so that she's in part of the background here. This one I would probably move to the corner so that I would have the flowers in the background, and then I just cut out that image and put it on a white background. And that's how you get your freebies. This one I think is fine. This one I think is fine as well, and this one actually is fine as well as it is. Maybe I'll move it a little bit. No, I actually want the tops of the pyramids there, so I think I'll leave that as well. This one is definitely a weird one. I don't think I will leave that. I will probably move this to the center so that you have Isis in the center of the calendar page. And then this one also needs a little something, so either I will move it up or I will move it to here. I will decide that. And then I will test print those. And then I also need to make the ones without the dates. So that's basically then the same ones that I have here, but I need to take off this calendar and put in the one without the date. 5 different backgrounds. So here are all the planner pages without dates. So that's the monthly. And then we have 5 weeks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I've also printed the freebies now. So this is the monthly. And here we have the first page with the first 2 weeklies. Second page, week 2 and 3. Third page with week 5, going all the way until February 6th. And finally the trackers, so the 10K step tracker and the habit tracker. The next thing I have to do is add watermarks to all of the paid versions, not the freebies, but the paid versions, so I can upload all of that to my shop. So I've added the January pages to my planner in the meantime. So this is the end of December, beginning of January. And then here we have the first January page. So this will be my January intro page, where I will also put a quote for January. This is the monthly calendar. Please ignore, I've done such a bad job in gluing the pages together this time. And I also left this empty, which really annoys me because I don't know what to do with this blank page yet. Of course, I could just glue it together, but that just makes it so thick. So I'll have to think about that. And we have week 1, week 2. Again, just ignore the horrible gluing together of the pages. I really like when images go over 2 pages like this. I think that looks really cool. Then we have week 3. Week 4, again, I love how this just goes across. And week 5. And then I also decided last night to make some, because this is again the next morning. I'm filming this over 3 days. It is taking so long. I've also decided to make some ephemera pages because I'm going to use these background pages also for my Egyptian journal, which I still need to make. So I have 3 ephemera pages. So this is one. So we have 4 small tags, 4 corner tuck spots, 1, I don't know what you call it, label. Then we have 4 large tags. And on the 3rd page, we have 4 banners, 2 large journaling cards, and 3 round images. So the last step now is to add all of these to my shop finally. So this is what the interface of my shop looks like. So it's not an Etsy shop, it is a standalone shop. I use Wix, W-I-X, as the platform. And I just put in all the changes that I need and upload all the images. Takes a while, especially for the backgrounds. And then I arrange them the way I want, and then I can post them to my shop. So this is the final result. We have 7 new products in my shop. I, of course, always double check to make sure that they look okay in the shop as well, because I don't see this view when I add them to the shop. They look like this. So I always have to check the live shop version and try to catch anything before you do. So these are now the backgrounds. Everything had, all of the digitals have their watermarks, so it's all good. Makes me so happy when finally everything is in the shop. It takes a while to get here, as you saw. It took me like 3 days, but finally it's there, and I hope this was helpful. I have been getting a lot of requests on how I make digitals, so this is the whole process. I would appreciate if you would let me know if this was interesting for you, because I've never made a video like this. And thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!